This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. Oil prices fell from 6-week highs on Friday as investors unloaded positions after weak Japanese crude import data and on worries about fuel demand in India, where COVID-19 infections have soared. U.S. crude and global benchmark Brent logged their biggest daily drops in more than 3 weeks, but saw monthly gains of near 6% and 8%, respectively. Fuel demand worldwide is mixed, with consumption rising in the United States and China, while other nations resume lockdowns to stem the rising infection rate. Brent crude settled at $67.25 a barrel, falling $1.31, or 1.9% on the last day of trading for the front-month June contract. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude for June settled at $63.58 a barrel, down $1.43, or 2.2%. Brent gained 1.7% on the week and WTI rose 2.3%.
OPEC oil output has risen in April as higher supply from Iran countered involuntary cuts and agreed reductions by other members under a pact with allies, a Reuters survey found, adding to signs of a 2021 recovery in Tehran's exports. The 13-member Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries pumped 25.17 million barrels per day, BPD, in April, the survey found, up 100,000 barrels of oil per day from March. Output has risen every month since June 2020 with the exception of February. Iran's exports are rising as talks take place to revive a 2015 nuclear deal which could eventually allow more oil to the market.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Russia's energy ministry has proposed banning gasoline exports for 3 months, according to a draft document seen by Reuters, as fuel prices, a sensitive issue for the domestic policy, have been on the rise. Gasoline demand has recovered in Russia following a sharp drop last year amid the pandemic. The government had even introduced a ban on imports of cheap fuel, a measure lifted in October. According to the state statistic agency, average retail price of gasoline as of April 26 stood at 47.64 rubles, 64 cents, per liter, up 3.4% from the end of 2020.
Crude oil output in the U.S. dropped by over 1 million barrels per day in February, falling to the lowest levels since October 2017, according to a monthly government report on Friday. U.S. oil production dropped 1.197 million barrels of oil per day in February to 9.862 million barrels of oil per day, according to a monthly report from the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Production fell in top-producing states North Dakota and Texas, as well as in the offshore Gulf of Mexico, the report said. February's data is the first time oil production has dropped below 10 million barrels of oil per day since January 2018, according to the agency.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
World top copper producer Chile saw output of the red metal fall for the 10th consecutive month in March, government statistics agency INA said on Friday, marking a modest but continual slide in production that began shortly after the coronavirus pandemic struck the country. Copper output fell 1.3% in March, to 491,720 tons, the agency said, coinciding with a raft of new restrictions on movement and commerce following the Southern Hemisphere's summer holidays.
The London Metal Exchange said on Friday it plans to announce around June 8 whether it will reopen its open outcry trading ring or permanently shut the only such floor in Europe. The 144-year-old exchange added in a statement that even if it decides in June to resume open outcry trading, it would not be able to implement the measure until late July at the earliest due to coronavirus restrictions. The exchange, the world's oldest and largest market for industrial metals, announced a proposal in January to move to full electronic trading and held a consultation. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Export prices for Ukrainian 2021 rapeseed rose by around $100 a ton over the past 20 days amid an expected decrease in rapeseed output in the European Union and global upward trend, analyst APK Inform said on Friday. Bid export prices jumped to $620 to $640 a ton CPT. Carriage paid to Black Sea ports with the delivery in July-August as of April 29 from $525 to $533 as of April 9. Ukraine harvested 2.6 million tons of rapeseed in 2020 and has already exported most of the harvest. Ukraine has started the 2021 rapeseed sowing and the area could total 1 million hectare, 10% less than a year earlier, the government forecast.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.